Om Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhushcha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Sri Dakshinamurti Sudeshikendram Dvaipayanam Sutrakritam Munindram Sri Shankaram Bhashyakritam Yatindram Maddeshi Kanchapi Namami Vidyai Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsarishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyah Sarvopaplavarahita Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivahamasmi Om Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Mrtaduhe Namaha. Pranams everyone, we are doing the 16th chapter now, Daiva Asura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga, where Bhagavan is basically enumerating all the Daivi Gunas and Asura Gunas. And in the first three Slokas, we had seen about 26 values or virtues for a person to be of characters of a Daivi Sampat person. And then in Sloka number 4, basically Bhagavan introduced the Asuri Sampat and he gave 6 attributes of a Asuri Sampat person. Basically Dambaha, Darpaha, Abhimanaha, Krodhaha, Parushyam and Ajnanam. Basically the pretension, show off, arrogance, having this vanity, anger, harshness, and ajnanam is lack of discrimination between what is dharma and what is adharma. And he said these belong to a person, these characters belong to a person who is born with Asuri Sampat. We saw that. And then in Sloka number 5, Bhagavan basically gave the outcome or the result of Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. He said a person having Daivi Sampat, or rather Daivi Sampat will lead to moksha and Asuri Sampat will lead to bondage. Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandha Asuri Mata, he said. And then he also gave as if to Arjuna, he basically, if Arjuna was worrying about whether he had Daivi Sampat or Asuri Sampat, Bhagavan gave him the comfort by saying, do not grieve, Arjuna, you are born with Daivi Sampat. Ma Shuchaha Pandava Asi Abhijataha Daivim Sampadam. And then he said, basically, Arjuna, you are born with Daivi Sampat. Then in Sloka 6, which we started doing last class, we will continue there. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Dvau Bhuta Sargau Lokesmin Daiva Asura Yevacha Daivo Vistarasha Proktaha Asuram Partha Me Shrunu. Here Bhagavan basically says, he is saying what I have taught so far and what I am going to teach from now on. So he basically says, Asmin loke dvau bhuta sargau. In this world, in this human world, there are 2 types of beings. Dvau bhuta sargau. What are they? Daiva Asura Yevacha. They are the Daiva and Asura Sampat people. And we saw how these 2 samskaras within us will make us Daiva at times and Asura at times. Whenever the Shastra samskara overpowers our Swabhava samskara, then we are in the Daiva mode. Whenever our Swabhava samskara, our likes and dislikes, that overpower what the Shastras say, then we are at Asura Sampat mode. So Daiva Asura Evacha. And then he says, further says, Bhagavan says, in the second line he says, Daivo Vistarashah Proktaha. Proktaha means Upadeshaha. I had given you, instructed, I had taught you. What he has taught? Daivo. Daiva Sampat. Daivi Sampat. The good values that one should have. And then he says, further he says, Asuram Partha me shrunu. Hey Partha, hey Arjuna, Asuram shrunu, me shrunu, listen from me. Me shrunu, listen from me. What? Asuram, Asura Sampat. Hey Arjuna, listen to Asura Sampat from now on, from me. And why does Bhagavan say Shrunu? Because he wants to get the attention of Arjuna. And why does he wants the listener to get the attention? Because we need to be aware. These gunas, the Asura Sampat gunas, can become our personality without our knowledge. Even without our awareness, this personality, these characters can enter us. These characters can enter us. So we have to be aware, we have to be careful. So what if we have that already? If we have that character already, then we should try to remove it. Before that, okay, Ashishji, you had raised your hand.
Yeah, Guruji. So just clarifying, so the journey is from a Swabhav Sammat or our inner characteristic compliant behavior to a Shastra Sammat or the religious texture compliant behavior.
Correct.
And hence so it is about overcoming our inner characteristics and becoming compliant with what is written in Shastras.
Correct.
Okay. That's interesting because overcoming our inner characteristics sounds kind of, against the grain that we are taught, right?
When we say inner characteristics, what we mean here is our likes and dislikes. We are driven by our likes and dislikes. And as I said in the last class also, we always think, we don't differentiate between what is good and what is bad. We rather differentiate between what we like and what we dislike. And our general perception or opinion is, whatever I like is good for me, or and whatever I dislike is bad for me. We do not see it from the lens of what is good and bad from a Shastric standpoint. So we try to see it only from the lens of what I like and what I dislike. So here what Gita says or Bhagavan says is, basically try to move your samskaras from your svabhava to what the Shastras stipulate. And if Shastras, that's where Shraddha comes in, because Shraddha on Shastras would mean that Shastras would say whatever is good for me only. So if I have that Shraddha, then I follow what Shastra says, then it will ultimately end up in my well-being.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Asura Sampat, when we talk about, typically what happens is there is this kind of a saying in Tamil where they say, Kalavum Katru Mara. And it is loosely translated or being translated in today by a lot of people as, even if it is kind of stealing, if that is a skill, you learn it and then forget it, or you first learn it so that Kalavum Katru Mara, their Katru means they use it for practicing it, knowing it. But actually it's a wrong interpretation. I just wanted to this is kind of going away from slightly away, but I just wanted to bring this point. See, Kalavum Katru Mara means, here Katru means understand the ill effects of all these kind of wrong practices or bad habits. So basically it says understand the ill effects, understand the bad effects, understand the outcome or the problems that it will create. And then Mara means here save yourself. So Kalavum Katru Mara means for all those bad habits, understand that the ill effects of what it might lead you to, and therefore save yourself. And now the question comes is, why is Bhagavan actually spending time to explain this Asuri Sampat? Asura Sampat, Daiva Sampat, he only took 3. Asura Sampat, he is taking a lot more. And why that way? Because this Asura Sampat is something that can easily get into our system. And once it gets into our system, it will drag us down and it will lead to our downfall. The Daiva Sampat, if we want to achieve, we will have to put an effort to say patience or not getting angry, or if we say ahimsa, or saying the truth, satyam. If we talk about all those values, we will have to put an effort, we will have to give some time, we will have to put an enormous amount of effort to make that into our personality. It takes time for us to get that character or get that virtue in our system. Whereas for Asura Sampat, without even our knowledge, we will be able to imbibe all these Asura characters. Without even our knowledge, for example, the ahankara, the pride in us will automatically rise. Suppose if we have been doing well in our career, automatically without our knowledge, the pride would have entered our system. We would not be aware of it. People around us would be able to identify that. Similarly, anger or any of these things, we need not do any special effort to get angry. We need not do any special effort to tell a lie. It will automatically happen. And the problem for this Asura Sampat is, if we are not aware of our mind, if we are not aware of our emotions, we will falter easily. In other words, if I want to say, by default, we will be only in Asura Sampat. By default, we are in Asura Sampat. Only if we put an effort, we can overcome Asura Sampat. It's just like by nature, the water flows down. Only if we want to actually take the water to the overhead tank, we'll need to have electricity, motor, and put that effort to take that water up. In the same way, in our spiritual journey, by default, we can easily go down. But if we want to go up in that ladder, we will have to put an effort. So, in other words, if we decide to actually neither put an effort, if we decide, okay, I don't want to put an effort to go up, let me stay where I am. This is a common thing people say. When we ask them to actually come to and listen to Shastras, read Bhagavad Gita, understand Bhagavad Gita, come to classes, they will say, it doesn't matter, I don't need to come, maybe this is not for me this life, I will stay where I am. I will, as long as I'm okay, I'm this level, I'm fine. I don't do harm to anybody, I am actually a nice person, all those things they will give an excuse. As long as you are good to everybody, that's all fine. The problem is, if we decide to not take any effort, then we will not stagnate at the same level. If we don't put any effort, and if we let the nature take its own course, then we will definitely go down. So, being in the spiritual path is very essential, not just to actually go up, but also to ensure that we do not go down. So, for this reason, Bhagavan, basically for us to be aware, he gives all the Asura Sampat, and he also gives the thought process behind all those Asura Sampat people. He will discuss what their gunas are, what they think as their goals, how does their mind work, and finally where they end up with. we already saw where they ended up with. They will end up with bondage, or rather they will be in bondage. But more than that, there are more things that Bhagavan will actually elaborate here. The entire chapter from now on is going to be only Asura Sampat, mainly. In the 17th chapter, which we will not cover now, but in the 17th chapter, Bhagavan will again go back to some Daiva Sampat, and he will split them to Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic nature. Anyway, so Asura Sampat, this for us to be aware, for us to be, as I said, when we start with Asura Sampat, we should not feel overly guilty about if we have those characters. At the same time, we should not be justifying if we have them, and also start believing in Ishvara and ourselves, have that Shraddha to put that effort to come out of Asura Sampat. So just remember those 3 points when we go on from now on. So Sloka number 7. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Pravrttim cha Nivrttim cha janana vidurasuraha na Soucham napi chacharaha na satyam teshu vidyate. Pravrttim cha Nivrttim cha janana vidurasuraha na Soucham napi chacharaha na satyam teshu vidyate. So from this Sloka 7 until Sloka 21, basically Bhagavan is going to elaborate or explain Asura Sampat. In this Sloka, Bhagavan is basically giving 4 gunas of Asuras. Remember, we had already given 6 in Sloka number 4. Now he is giving 4 in this Sloka. Pravrttim cha Nivrttim cha janana vidurasuraha. So this first line, Bhagavan basically says Asura Sampat people are ignorant people. They are ajnanis. And he says that is the root cause of the problem. What kind of ignorance? When we say ajnani, what kind of ignorance? The ignorance on Dharma and Adharma matters. And that is their main problem of Asura Sampat people. What we should be doing? We should be able to involve ourselves in Dharma. We should be doing dharmic activities, and we should be withdrawing ourselves from adharmic activities. This is what we should be doing. Pravrttim cha Nivrttim cha. Pravrtti means get involved. Nivrtti means to withdraw, to reject. So we should, Pravrtti means get involved, Nivrtti means to reject or withdraw. So we should be able to follow Pravrtti with regards to Dharma and Nivrtti with regards to Adharma. Pravrttim cha Nivrttim cha. But for that to happen, first we should know what is Dharma and what is Adharma. So only then we will know which path to follow and which path not to follow. And to know the path not to follow is as important as to know the path to follow also. So this is very important. What we should not be doing is very important to know, or as important to know as to what we should be doing. So Pravrtti is the path to follow, Nivrtti is the path to withdraw. We'll do a small vichara. Shastras use another term for Pravrtti. Pravrtti, the Shastras use a term called Vidhi. Vidhi means do's. And for Nivrtti, Shastras use a term called Nishedam. Nishedam means don'ts. So basically, do's and don'ts. To follow, to reject. What are they? So here Bhagavan says, Jana na vidurasuraha. Na viduhu. They do not know. Who? Asura janaha. The Asura people do not know what to follow and what not to be done. What is to be done, what is not to be done. So here Bhagavan says the Asura people do not know which to follow and which to reject. And this is the basic knowledge that a person should have. And actually this one line is good enough to describe Asuras. All other gunas are only actually an extension or expansion of this guna. So this is the saram of Asura. Asura, who are Asuras? Asuras are people who do not know what to do and what not to do. That's all. Whatever they do in Asuras should not be done by normally, and whatever they don't do should be done actually. Pravrttim, what is to be done? Cha Nivrttim, and what is not to be done. Jana na viduhu. People do not know. Which people? Asura. So Asuras are people who are ignorant. That is what Bhagavan says. Ignorant about what? Ignorant about Dharma and Adharma. And Bhagavan says ignorance is Asura Guna. So ignorance itself is a reflection of Asura. So what we should be doing? We should be first and foremost getting knowledge would be the first duty for us to come out of Asura Guna. Getting to know Dharma is the basic necessity, is mandatory for us. But is it that really people do not know what is Dharma, what is Adharma? No. In fact, once a Sampradaya Guru asks a question, it's a very thought-provoking question. He says, it is not that people do not know what is Dharma or what is Adharma. For example, even if you take a thief, he knows definitely that one cannot steal, one should not steal. Isn't that the reason why he is doing it when everybody is asleep? So that he doesn't get caught? So he definitely knows that this should not be done. So then this Sampradaya Guru asked this question, so how can Bhagavan claim that Asuras are ignorant in that case? And then he himself answers that question. He says, the person thinks that the others consider this to be wrong. And as for himself, the thief himself, he does not consider that to be wrong. And that is how an Asura describes themselves. Whatever others may think is wrong, the Asura thinks that it is right. Or in other words, he will be justifying his actions. And he thinks it is acceptable. For him at least. And why does he feel that it is acceptable? If somebody believes in Papa, Punya and all those things, obviously they will actually feel that it should not be done. But for an Asura, he does not believe in Dharma Shastras. He does not think he will get Papa or Punya based on his actions. He does not believe in Shastras. He does not believe in the Vedas. He does not have that Shraddha. And he will claim that he won't get Papa Or even if he says, he might even say, even if I get papa, doesn't matter. I will not get that papa more than the person with the other person there. I am actually doing less papa than the other person. So that way they will try to compare or justify. And this comparison, justification, not believing in Dharma Shastras is Asura Guna. That is what Bhagavan says. This person does not believe on the outcome. He does not have any Shraddha on the Shastras. So, because he does not have any Shraddha on the Shastras, he is ignorant. By nature, he is ignorant. What he knows is that others might think this is wrong, and therefore he might get punishment. He might get caught. He might be punished for doing that. But as far as he is concerned, he believes he is right. Now, this is what Asura Sampat people believe in. Now, if we take something like stealing, obviously none of us will fall into that category. But let us try to apply this on all the small misdeeds that we do. Something as small as probably getting angry or lying, these things, or when we shout back at others, or when we hurt others. At that time, what we do? We do something similar. What we do? We will justify saying that the other person deserved that. And that you are not doing anything much more than the other person. Or that you don't believe that this papa is going to come and bite back. It doesn't matter even if it comes and bite back. It doesn't matter because our Shraddha is only that much. So, this Asura Guna is with all of us. And we have to understand that shows out as, Bhagavan calls this as ignorance. So we might have this knowledge, we might have this Shastric knowledge, we might have this Dharma Shastra knowledge, we might know what is Dharma and Adharma. But in spite of it, knowing it, if we are doing it, it is as good as being ignorant. And that is what Bhagavan calls out here. And Bhagavan says this is the predominant guna of an Asura. This ignorance about Dharma and Adharma. This is the predominant guna of Asura. Pravrttim-Nivrttim janana vidura suraha. Now let's go to the second line. Second line, Bhagavan says further three more identity of an Asura. Three more identities of an Asura. Na Soucham. Soucham teshu na Vidyate. There are three things. Na Soucham, na pichacharaha, na Satyam. Then there is teshu Vidyate. So we should say Soucham teshu na Vidyate. Soucham we know. Soucham we saw as cleanliness. Na Vidyate will not be there. Teshu. Teshu means with them. With the Asuras. In other words, they are not clean. They are unclean at all levels. So an Asura generally do not keep their body clean. Their dresses won't be clean. Their possessions will not be clean. Their words will not be clean. Their mind will not be clean. Nothing will be clean. Neither external purity nor internal purity. Na bahya Soucham, na antara Soucham. So wherever I am not clean, I am an Asura from that standpoint. So sometimes what happens is we clean the areas which might be visible to others. So if somebody is coming to our house, we will try to keep the living room clean. We will not bother about the rooms inside. So whatever is visible, we will try to clean them up. We do not bother about the things that are not visible. So we are Asura from wherever we are, from the standpoint wherever we are not clean. So we'll have to accept that we are Asuras from that standpoint and then try to overcome that. So Soucham, na Soucham. Then napi chacharaha, na api acharaha. When we split na acharaha, sa acharaha, napi cha, so it's na api acharaha. Achara means, Bhagavan says asuras don't have achara. Achara means conduct, culture. We say cultureless person. Culture. And here achara specifically means the religious achara, the religious discipline. See, Shastras give us some discipline to follow. There are some requirements, stipulations. There are some conditions. For example, Shastra says one needs to wake up early in the morning, before the sun rises. Take shower immediately, early in the morning. And why does Shastra say that? Because when we are in deep sleep, we are only in Karana Sharira. And because we are in Karana Sharira, we wake up, it is as good as coming back from death. To be asleep and then to wake up is equivalent to be alive after a near-death experience. A jiva after death, what happens? We have seen this in the 15th chapter. A jiva after death, 15th chapter we are not covered here, but in introduction to Vedanta we have covered. So what happens? A jiva after death is back to its Karana Sharira. And then what happens? It takes a new body, new Stula Sharira. Sleep is when we are asleep, what happens? We are not aware of our Stula Sharira. We are not aware whether we are tall, short, whether we are fair, whether we are male, whether we are female. We are not aware of our Stula Sharira, our physical body. When we are in deep sleep, we are not even aware of our mind. Whether I have the pride, or whether I am humble, whether I am a nice person, whether I am a bad person, whether I have anger, whether I have daya, compassion, we don't know. When we are asleep, we are not aware of Stula Sukshma Shariras. So therefore sleep is called as Nitya Pralaya. Nitya Pralaya. In Pralaya what happens is only the Karana Sharira is there. And then when the Srishti happens, when the creation happens, we take back new Stula Shariras. So the Karana Sharira, when we are in Karana Sharira, because we are unaware of things, we are in the state of Ajnana. We are ignorant. And we have been in that ignorance, state of ignorance in Karana Sharira, and we are back in the morning. When we wake up and we are with the same physical body, we are asleep. We have just slept off and waken up. If we wake up and we find ourselves in a new body, then we have had a rebirth. So sleep is Nitya Pralaya. So because we are in the state of Ajnana, we have to purify ourselves when we wake up. And that's why Shastra says, have a shower after waking up. So these are all some of the disciplines enforced by Shastras. These are called religious discipline. And when we shower, we chant this sloka. Gange Chamune Chaiva, Godavari Saraswati, Narmade Sindhu Kaveri, Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. We invoke these holy rivers and we purify ourselves. Then after waking up, after having shower, we should do some prayers, activity, some time for Ishvara Bhagavan. There is all this achara in our culture. This is called as our culture. And then there is achara in food. There are certain things that can be eaten, that there are certain things that have to be avoided. Then there are certain things that can be eaten but avoided on certain days. Those things are all achara. In Taittiriya Upanishad it says annam na nindyat. Annam na nindyat means food should not be criticized. Food, we should not step upon food. Food should not be wasted. Annam na nindyat. So this is culture. This is achara. Similarly, we have the same attitude towards book and paper. We don't step upon it. Or even if it falls down, we pick it up and take it to our eyes and seek for to show reverence. So this is all our culture. And we should not ask scientific explanation for these things. Why should we actually once we step on something on paper, why should we actually show reverence and bring it to our eyes and actually seek kind of forgiveness? We should not ask scientific explanation for this. These are all culture. The same way there is culture even in the materialistic world. When we see on Independence Day or National Day, they see a flag and they salute the flag. It's a show of reverence to the country. Why, you can ask, why should you actually, some cloth is flying there, why should I actually do a salute for the cloth? It is an attitude. It is a bhavana. It is an attitude that is needed for us to grow spiritually. This bhakti is also a bhavana. So these acharas have to be followed. And there are various acharas. Whenever an elder comes home, visits us, how to sit in front of them, how we should talk. And all these things have to be taught to our children also, so that we are able to take it to the next generation. In Western culture, they say manners, good manners. They have their table manners. They say a knife and fork should be used in a particular manner. At that point of time, we don't ask them whether it is scientific. But only when we say, follow these things, in front of your elders, don't talk like that, or sit in this manner, we will say, what is the reason? Why should I follow that? We will question all those things. But when the Western culture asks you to behave in certain manner, we will accept it. We don't question them. So achara is culture. Achara could vary from country to country. This culture, for example, in some countries it is not proper to go to a stage without shoes. You have to get your legs covered. But in our culture, what happens when we receive an award, or we go to a stage where there are elders, or where there are Bhagavan's Murti there, or when there is something auspicious thing that is happening, then what we do, we won't wear shoes or sandals. We go barefoot. So this achara can change. The spirit will not change. The respect is universal. Here what Bhagavan says is, this Asuras, they do not follow achara. But why they don't follow achara? The first line we saw, Pravrttim-Nivrttim na viduhu. They do not know what is to be followed and what is to be not followed. And achara in our Shastras, it is divided into two: Sadachara, Durachara. Sadachara means good conduct, Durachara means bad conduct. And what happens? This Asuri Guna is something that is inherent in everybody, and also over the upbringing, it either gets reduced or it gets added depending on the upbringing. So Sadachara, Durachara, Achara, na papi, napi chachara, na api achara. Then the fourth one in this one, or within this line, the third one, na satyam. Satyam na vidyate. They do not speak the truth. Anurutthavadinaha. Anurutthavadinaha means they tell lies. Their swabhava is to tell lies. What is Satyam? We have already discussed a lot. We don't need to go there. Basically, what is Priyam, what is Hitam, and what is Yathartha. It happened. It is good to speak, and speak softly, gently, nicely. That kind of bhashanam is Satyam. But Asuras, they do not speak Priyam. They speak harshly. They don't speak Hitam. They don't think of the good. They may only want to bring down people. Then Yathartha. Neither Yathartha. They do not speak as what happened. They might add, exaggerate, or say the opposite. They speak for selfish reasons. Swalabham. They speak for swalabham. Or they speak for paranashtam. Sometimes even if they don't get any benefit out of it, to bring down some people, they speak certain things. So paranashtam. So na satyam vidyate. So these are Asura Gunas. Bhagavan basically has given 4 Gunas here. Now the next question that comes into our mind is, what exactly could be their philosophy? If they are doing this, they are not following Vedas or Shastras, what could be their philosophy? What do they follow? Just like, Daiva Sampat people follow Vedas, Acharas, they follow Shastras. What could these Asura Sampat people be following? So that could be coming in our mind. So Bhagavan answers that in the next sloka. Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahurnishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kama haitukam. Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahurnishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kama haitukam. So here Bhagavan says, or Bhagavan gives the Asura religion, the Asura school of thought, or the Asura philosophy, or the Asura Upanishad. So we have the Daiva Upanishad, which is the Vedas. What are the Asura Upanishad? Bhagavan gives them. What is their thought process? What does their Upanishad, or what does their philosophy talk about? What does their philosophy teach? If somebody were to follow Asura Sampat, or if somebody is going to follow their philosophy, what are the takeaways they will get from that philosophy? Bhagavan says, Asuras have a view of this world. They have a view of this world. They have a view of this Jagat. This world, according to the Asuras, have 3 attributes. They give 3 adjectives for this world. What are they? Asatyam, the first word. Asatyam, not real. The world is not real. The second one, apratishtitam. Apratishtam. Apratishtam. Apratishtam means without any kind of sustenance, without any kind of support. We'll explain all these things. Apratishtam. Then, last word, Anishwaram. Anishwaram. Ishwaram is Ishvara, God, Ishvara. Anishwaram means without any Ishvara. So the world is not real. The world is without any sustenance or support. The world is without Ishvara. And in the first line you have Te Ahuhu Jagada Purunishwaram. Te Ahuhu Asatyam Apratishtam Anishwaram Jagat. They say the world is without truth, without sustenance and without Ishvara. Now we'll look into Asatyam. They say the world is Asatyam. We also say, we Advaitins also say, Jagat Mithya Brahma Satyam. So in our words also, the world is not Satyam. But we don't say Asatyam, we say Jagat Mithya. But this Asatyam that they mean is different from the Asatyam that we say. The Asura view of saying that the world is Asatyam has got two meanings to it. And it does not mean the same way as what we actually make out, as in Advaitins saying it. First, the word Jagat, when they say Jagat Asatyam, the word Jagat means the people. Here they don't mean the world as such. It is the people in the world they say. So generally when we say a village, it generally means a place. I went to my village. It means a place. But suppose if I say the village came to watch his performance, then what happens? The village is not a place anymore. The village, when I say the village, it means the people of the village. So similarly when we say the world came to bid farewell, it is not that the world itself came. It means the people of the world. In the same way, when here Jagat means not the world, it doesn't say the world is Asatyam. It says, he says, the people in the world. Asuras claim that the people of the world speak Asatyam. They tell lies. In their view, nobody is truthful. All speak falsehood only. This will be their common what they call as experience or their philosophy. Their philosophy is the world is full of people who only speak lies. Even if we point out someone to say, hey, look, you are wrong, this person speaks truth, they will not believe it. Or even if you say, look, actually he had spoken, if we proved to the person that he had spoken the truth, then they will say, oh, he had spoken the truth because it is beneficial to that person. Otherwise, he would not speaking true truth. So they will try to always have this feeling that the world is full of lies. We need to look into ourselves to ask that question whether we think the same about that world. And that is why we have this story, right? When Duryodhana and Dharmaraja were asked to find out, how many people in the country were good and how many people were bad in this kingdom. Dharmaraja came back and said he could not find a single bad fellow. Everybody seems to be good. Everybody had some good quality or other. He could only see the good qualities in people. Duryodhana came back and said none of them were good. Because however good a person is, he was able to identify some problem in them. And then he said, this person does not meet. So this depends on viewpoint. So this is how an Asura Sampat people look at this world. A Sampradaya Guru basically says in our Shastras, there is a Nyaya, there is a philosophy which says Atmavat Manyate Jagat. Atmavat Manyate Jagat. Atmavat means to be like self. Atmavat Manyate means thinks, he thinks. Jagat, the world. A person normally thinks others to be like him or herself only. When we try to judge another person or for a particular situation, if this was the situation, how would this person behave? If we think in those terms, the general tendency for us would be to believe that the other person would also react in the same manner as we would have reacted. This is what our Shastra says. It's a Nyaya. Atmavat Manyate Jagat. This is a philosophy that in our Shastras. That's how people think. We always think that the other person will be like me in the same situation. We would not want to believe otherwise. So this is a matter of truth. So we need to take time, reflect, and be able to realize how we think of others. If we are the ones who keep lying to ourselves and lying to others, or wouldn't want to accept our issues, our problems, then we would also believe that the others would be doing the same. If I am cheating or deceiving others, I will think others to be also cheating and deceiving others. If I am not able to keep up the word that I have promised, I will not be able to trust others also. So there are some people who don't return the books when they receive. And what happens, generally these people also don't share their books, because they will know that they will not get back their books. So we generally tend to think whatever we have as in others also. So similarly, the Asuras claim that there are no speakers of truth in this world, because they themselves don't do it. Similarly, if a person believes gaining financial wealth or money is how I measure success. Suppose if a person thinks I will measure success by the wealth that I have created, by the money that I have, then what happens is the person will believe that the whole world is also behind money only. We will not like to believe that there are people who do not or who are not running behind money. The way a person sees himself is the way they see others. So for these people, when someone does a good deed, they don't see the good deed. They will only see what could be wrong in it. For example, they will say, oh, he does it because others were watching him. He was trying to act in front of others, or he is doing it because he was trying to gain something out of it. So they try to discredit the other person. and Asura Sampat people. So there is a story, or there is something, something I heard. A person didn't want to actually get any kind of dowry for the son he had. He wanted to get his son married off, and he didn't want to take any dowry. But nobody was willing to give their daughter, because people said if the person doesn't want to get some dowry, probably there could be an issue with the son himself, and he is trying to cover up by not asking for any dowry, because they could not believe that a normal person will not accept dowry. So that kind of things are there. So when we think others to be only as good or as bad as ourselves. So a person, if he is lying or cheating a lot, that person will not trust or believe others, because he knows that he cannot be trusted. He will not accept that, but at the same time internally his approach would be that. So the first meaning of Jagat Asatyam is these people think that the world is full of people who lie. And there are cases also, as I said, that comes out of some experience. Some people, when they get cheated, once or twice by people, then they try to jump into a conclusion saying that the whole world is a cheat. They would not like to believe that there could be good people. Another thing that we have to remember is, generally speaking, how do you identify, or forget the identification bit. What does a sattvic person do? A sattvic person, one of the characteristics of a sattvic person is, a sattvic person will only recollect the good characters of a person. Suppose if we are asked to, we can take ourselves a test. We bring in a name of a person in our mind. What is the character that comes to our mind? Generally, for a highly sattvic person, only the good character of that person will come to the mind. However bad they may be, they will be able to identify one good character of that person and bring it to their mind. This means our sattva guna has risen high. If we are able to see the world as nice people, then generally our sattva guna has risen. Not that we force ourselves to do that, but generally speaking, over a period of time, it will happen that way. As our sattva guna gets improved, as we go up the spiritual ladder, we will be able to see the good in others as well. So this is the first meaning of Jagat Asatyam. There is another meaning of Jagat Asatyam, and for the other ones, we will see it in the next class. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Sir, I wanted to say that Asura, we all are Asuras at some time. We all behave like Asura. So,
Yes.
we are bad people.
No. I mean, we have to overcome that Asura guna. That's what Bhagavan wants us to do. We are all having some of the Asura characters. As I said, sometimes we are Daiva gunas, sometimes we have Asura gunas. What should be our approach, or what should be our sadhana, is to improve the Daiva guna. So be on Daiva guna as much as possible, and reduce the Asura guna within ourselves. Okay, this is just for us to be aware. As I said, it's not for us to be overly guilty, at the same time not try to justify. It is for us to be aware, and it is not for us to judge others also. It is for us to reflect upon ourselves and see what can be improved.
Thank you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महीषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो
हरि ओम।
हरि ओम।